Welcome to Offsite Dirt, the podcast committed to uncovering all the insights of the offsite construction industry. Join us as we delve into the realm of offsite construction solutions, modern building methods, high performance construction, lean manufacturing, and beyond. Your experiences fuel our passion for the industry, fostering collaboration and driving business growth worldwide. So let's get down to the dirt. Here's our host, Audrey Grabesic.
Hi, my name is Audrey Grabesic, and I'm the founder of Offsite Dirt. We are a company that collaborates with the construction industry to talk about high performance, offsite construction solutions. We talk about lean manufacturing, events, and industry knowledge. We're here today with HELM Solutions, which is a construction solution company, and Mel Baiser is with us. Hello, Mel, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks, Audrey, for the opportunity.
I love that you're here, and I would love our audience to know just a little bit more about yourself and what is HELM Construction Solutions?
Yeah, I would love to share that. So I always start these introductions off by saying I come from a long line, at least 7 generations, if not more, of Vermont-based French Canadian builders and farmers. So my family for generations has been both working with the land and working with their hands and in this industry, in the trades. And so I often will joke that I was sort of destined to enter the trades, despite not thinking that that was my calling. And so just a short story of how I got into it. I actually was a first generation college student and studied sociology, political science, things that were pretty far removed from the trades. And yet working in San Francisco in my early 20s, I found myself on a job site, and the work itself was incredibly satisfying. You know, being able to set out in the beginning of the day with a goal, and through physical labor, through working with your hands, be able to achieve that goal. And I just fell in love with that feeling and the physicality of it. And so I entered a new profession in the trades, and I worked as a carpenter in San Francisco and worked my way up, and eventually realized that I really enjoyed the process and the communication in the trades. And so I went back to school for project management and estimating, and all of this led me to the creation of this company. And happy to share more about that, but I don't know if you have any other questions before I jump in there.
Well, I'm glad, and it's always great to hear our backgrounds of where we started and why we have such passion. And I think there's a lot of passion in the construction industry. I find it every day with the stories of individuals that are building business. Construction solutions is something unique to the marketplace. Not a lot of people understand what that really means. So when you're talking about solutions, what's encompassed with HELM?
Yeah. So, to make the connection between my personal story and the story of my business partner, Kate Stephenson, who co-founded HELM with me back in 2015, maybe 16, right around the turn of the year. We both have many family members in the trade, so this work is really personal. We're very passionate about this industry, both from having been in it and also having our families impacted by it. For me personally, the and sort of to get to your question around construction solutions, being in the trades, I saw a lot of things, and I loved the actual work and the camaraderie on the job site, but there were also some downsides in terms of the culture, the communication, what it felt like. I personally identify as a non-binary queer person, and I'm also quite small. And so just being a small person who wasn't a cisgender male on a job site in those times was challenging. But beyond the workplace culture, there was what I experienced and witnessed was just so much opportunity to improve how construction happens. And I know that that is a lot of what you all do at Offsite Dirt as well, is look for how can we do this better? How can we be more efficient? How can we be leaner? Because these things result in, more affordable, more accessible building, and also just a better work environment for folks. So coming out of the trades, I saw a real opportunity and need for, in particular, for being able to partner with builders, with contractors, with architects to improve their processes internally. And so the unique thing that I think HELM does, and that Kate and I initiated, and now our team of, I think we're at 2023, we're really looking at primarily residential is sort of our niche, but we're looking at these residential, small to medium size, primarily high performance builders and contractors and architects. And so when I say that, I mean that they have a particular focus or awareness around climate change, around energy efficiency, around indoor air quality. And so we're partnering with these companies, and we essentially do an assessment of their business as a system. And we're looking at, whether it's from a financial point of view, from their team point of view, from how they present themselves to the community and their network, to the nitty gritty of production, where are there opportunities for improvement? And so at HELM, we are business consultants, we are professional coaches, we are project managers and estimators, and we're trainers. And we use these methods to really look at these companies that are already kind of on the leading edge. They're already being innovative, they're already engaged in their communities, and we want to partner with them. And we want to help them not only survive as businesses, but thrive as businesses. We call it resilient business. And because we need them in this industry. There's so much opportunity and potential. And we need to support these small businesses to be more successful and to stick around.
I love that you are creating a whole approach of not only the building application, but a whole approach of the business and the business owner. I think that's unique. And I think it's unique because a lot of times we are building, we're doing our thing, right? And as we go and we grow in our businesses, there's always maybe something lacking, or why can't we hit this fuller potential? And to come in to work with HELM and be able to provide consulting services, building application, business application. Just recently, I met a roofer in Savannah, and it was interesting. He's 32 years old, very ambitious, really smart. But I sat with him, Mel, and I said, what are your goals? When you do a roof, what are your numbers on a roof? So like, if you've been doing this for 10 years, you should be able to know if you have a 2,000 square foot roof and you have this product and blah, 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 what are the numbers and what's your profit margin? Right? And he didn't know. And I think, and it's not anything, I'm not judging him in any way. I'm just trying to open up the understanding that business and business application and supporting someone is so much larger than just going out and putting a nail in the roof.
Absolutely. And when I said earlier that this is personal, a lot of folks are drawn to the industry and drawn to the trades because of their passion for woodworking or the craft of construction or the craft of design. And again, we really try to be non-judgmental in our approach. It's actually one of our values. But we'll often say that many of our clients are accidental business owners. They ended up in the trades because of their passion or because they saw that as the avenue for them. And all of a sudden they turn around and they're running a multi-million-dollar company with a large team. And they may not have had the opportunity for, business courses or frankly, leadership or management. And so HELM is unique in that our team, we all have a connection to the industry. We've either been builders, been designers, been project managers or bookkeepers. or we have immediate family members in the trades. But the unique thing is that we're also sociology, anthropology, psychology majors, coaches, human resources, and educators. And so we're really looking at the human side of business. And where I think this is particularly relevant to this conversation is we're in a massive labor shortage crisis in the trades. I think it's like 1.6 million new workers that we need. And in 2024 alone, over 350,000 new workers. And so we've got these compounding issues. We've got businesses that maybe could be improved upon, that are maybe not as efficient or as effective, or work cultures that are not as inclusive and healthy for the teams. We also have a massive labor shortage. We have a aging workforce. I think I read the statistic, 1 in 4 tradespeople are over 55. And I think Vermont, where I'm situated, has actually one of the oldest populations of trade partners in the country. And so we've got a whole generation of people who are not entering the trades. And we've got all these various issues. And so in our work, part of this is not just about making these individual businesses better, but really, we say, revolutionizing the construction industry, because not only do we need to attract an entire generation of new folks to this industry, but in order to do so, some changes are going to need to happen.
I love what we are discussing here, and especially that one of your principles is resilient building. And we talk about high performance on offsite dirt. We have been talking about it for several years in building science. And these are all things that when in offsite construction, just a little over 7 years ago, didn't even know it existed. And now that we talk about it, I'm so passionate, because it's really about taking care of the people that are going to be in those homes. How do we have, this amazing comfort? And so it kind of brings me back to, why do you feel that resilient building and construction matters right now? And does it matter? Are you seeing a shift and a trend? Because I certainly am now, moving forward, that we've got new building codes that are coming out, and we've got new ways to electrify our homes and things that we can do to have, a better living space.
Absolutely. I love that question. And we're weaving in some pretty big themes here, which I think is important. I have an 11-year-old son, and the other day he said something to me like, "Do you think my kids will know what winter is?" And he was referring to, and he said, because of climate change. And it made me really sad, but also somewhat hopeful, in that the generation of today has a lot more awareness about the situation we're in terms of climate change. And I'm zooming out a little from your question about resilient buildings to talking about a resilient existence, right? One of the reasons that there's many reasons I love this industry, but one of the reasons is purely pragmatic. The construction industry contributes nearly 40% of the carbon emissions that are causing our climate crisis, through the extraction of and transportation of resources, the actual building of buildings, and the operation of our buildings. So not only is this a wonderful industry with a lot of different opportunity, it is strategic in our efforts and our work and when we talk about saving the planet, I mean, we like to think of the planet as outside of ourselves. We are the planet, just like the planet is us, right? So it's really, it's saving ourselves, right? And so because of this, and HELM really has, if we talk longer term vision, our longer term vision, and we're just, one relatively small company amongst many, many thousands of other companies and nonprofits and movements trying to do the same thing. But, part of our longer term vision is that the construction industry, instead of being a leading contributor to climate change, is a leader in a movement for climate justice. And when I talk about climate justice, and that's a term that maybe not everyone has heard, but for me, climate justice is a movement, and it is a concept that really acknowledges and recognizes that the climate crisis is having the most significant impact on communities of color globally, on low-income communities, and to point out that these are communities that have the least responsibility for the climate crisis, right? So when we talk about solutions to climate change, and we can talk about many, from building high performance homes to what have you. But when we talk about solutions, what is unique about a climate justice orientation is that we're talking about solutions that are addressing the root causes of climate crisis, that are also simultaneously addressing social, economic, racial, environmental justice issues, gender justice issues, right? And so what I love about thinking about construction and climate justice in the same breath is that, to me, construction is this industry that has so much potential, so much opportunity to be a leading innovator in this movement. And climate justice is a unifier, right? It's a unifier because we all have something at stake here. And so to get back to the initial question around resilient buildings and resilient businesses, we have to start somewhere, right? And so let's start in our immediate circles. How are we building businesses that are being mindful of the resources that we're using? How are we building buildings that are mindful of the communities in which we're building them? How are we sourcing materials that are mindful of how those materials were extracted or who the workers were that were using them? So there's many different facets for this. And it can get overwhelming, I'm not going to lie. So we have to be strategic in how are we each doing our part to move the needle, so that we don't end up in a situation like my son is foreshadowing, where the next generation, I'm a Vermonter, so I love snow, but sadly has to experience the impacts of our climate crisis in this way.
You're bringing up some key points, and to be completely transparent, climate justice movement, it is something I've never even walked into or thought about. And Mel, it's exciting to hear, and I think there are many contributors to creating a better world. And just knowing that there is this movement above all else makes my heart feel full and excited. When you're selecting or interviewing your clients, are these regular conversations that you're walking through? Are these conversations they're bringing to you? How does that, and how does that move? Like, how does these conversations come about now? Because you're bringing something very valuable to our world.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question, because, as someone who I grew up in a, poor working class family. I grew up with tradespeople around me. I am also a professional coach. And so one of my values is around non-judgment, as I mentioned earlier. And it is also around meeting people where they're at. And so on the one hand, HELM is very values driven. We have a strategic vision that is very social justice and climate justice oriented. However, we love working with all types of companies. And when I'm interviewing folks, because we do have our criteria for who is a good fit for working with us. Frankly, there is no need, or there's no requirement amongst these companies that they are passive house builders, or that they understand climate justice, or that they're activists or anything like that. But what I do look for is this someone who, and you typically I'm meeting with the owner, but sometimes we work with cooperatives as well. Is this someone who wants to do something more than just build buildings, right? Do they have values around how they support their team, around the benefits and the wages that they provide their team? Do they have values around the service that they're bringing their clients, right? How do they treat their trade partners? And for many of our clients, the conversation starts there with their values. I mean, a lot of our clients come to us and, you know, frankly, a big part of it is they either have too much work and they're having cash flow problems. They're having, I mean, one of the most common things I hear is that they're having a hard time hiring the right people to do the jobs, which is a national thing. Or frankly, we get a lot of business owners who have grown to a point where the owner is trying to wear way too many hats in the company. They're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, they're staying up late at night doing their estimates, they're not seeing their family. And these are some of the very fundamental things that we tackle first, because we know, it's a big shift to go from a small company that's just trying to keep its doors open and keep its clients happy and keep its team paid, to us talking about people who are leading a movement within an industry, right? And so what is that trajectory and how does that happen? So we start very much from meeting people where they're at, trying to understand what moves them, what connects them to their purpose beyond. Not that there's anything wrong with building beautiful buildings. We love that. But is there a purpose or a connection beyond that? And we're very much believers in we've got to put our oxygen masks on first. And so you cannot, I believe, you cannot run a successful, healthy, resilient business, growing business, if you are not okay. So if the owners or the leaders are not okay, meaning they're completely overwhelmed, they're stressed out, they're angry, whatever the things are, we have to start there, because a lot of our work is about developing leaders and developing the opportunity to build cultures within companies and within workplaces. Because the thing we haven't said, Audrey, is we're talking about this labor shortage, this massive labor shortage in the trades. I think it's about 4% of the field-based positions, the non-administrative positions, are held by women. Only 4%, which means, in my mind, workforce shortage crisis, an entire half of the population that has never been strategically recruited to this wonderful industry. Easy, and this is why you'll see a lot of the unions have campaigns around increasing women in the trades. So if we're going to be focused on building an industry that can meet the demand, which is significant, we need to be also changing the culture of these workplaces so that their environments, whether we're talking residential or commercial, small or large, they're environments where women, where folks of color, where youth, the next generation is not going to tolerate a toxic workplace. So it is the right thing to do, but it is also strategic. And the last thing I'll say on this long-winded response here is that changing a workplace culture is not only good for women or for queer folks or for folks of color or for immigrants or for youth, it is also good for the traditional cisgendered male workers, right? Like these are things that benefit everyone. And if we can't find ways, I often call it surviving capitalism. If we can't find ways to survive capitalism that are meaningful, where we can live purposeful and balanced and even bring some joy into our life, what's the point, right? So let's fight the good fight while we're also building beautiful buildings, resilient businesses, and providing great opportunities for people for employment, for dignified employment.
Again, I'm going back to this whole approach. Love that you're delivering leaders. For any company to thrive, they're going to look up to the people that are running them. So love the opportunity of putting on your oxygen mask first, because we've been in a society where we think it's selfishness to take care of ourselves. So you're changing the mindset of those that are leading companies. Again, unique in
Yeah.
every principle of wholeness. I love that you're meeting owners where they're at. There is no judgment. We're just here to help you to be your best and highest, purposeful self.
Hmm.
And we get to do that in construction and have this holistic whole approach to the humanity and to the world in which we want to view ourselves a part of. There's so many things that I've learned about your company today that really inspire me to feel that there's an approach to creating something of goodness. And it's not just of building, but it's the goodness of the people that we're working with. So
Hmm.
congratulations, Mel. This is definitely something that I look forward to seeing you grow and expand. I look forward to more companies creating solutions to take care of the whole
Mm.
person, the whole approach to business. Is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know about HELM Consulting or
Sure.
HELM Construction Solutions before we end today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to kind of highlight, we're having a larger picture conversation around some of the bigger themes here and talking a lot about the people and the organization. And I guess I just want to root all of this in the work that we actually do, which is a lot of setting up QuickBooks, helping hire office managers and project managers, training people on estimating, supporting people with marketing strategy, um, leadership development and organizational development and coaching are a huge part of this, but there are a lot of the nuts and bolts of things that that a lot of our clients need, and we've identified they have a specific need around. The other thing I want to throw in there, not to go off in too many tangents, but it is a topic that is near and dear to me that I just want to raise up a little bit in case it connects with some of your listeners. We, HELM does a lot of education and training and workshops on healthy culture, on inclusive hiring, on things like anti-racism, and one of the themes that we've uh, been vocal about over the last few years is highlighting the presence of neurodiversity in the industry. And I'm not sure if that's a term you're familiar with, Audrey, but back, let's see, about 5 years ago, my son was diagnosed autistic. And I'll say before that, I didn't know much at all about autism or about neurodiversity, ADHD, et cetera. And so over the past many years, as my wife and I have been learning more about how to support our son, it has occurred to me, and I have realized that many of our clients, and I think many folks in the construction industry and in the engineering fields and design, are folks who are either diagnosed or undiagnosed neurodivergent. And so that could be its own podcast probably, but I just want to say that just like many of the themes that I'm bringing up, the more education we have, the more information we have about how different people experience things, whether it's their executive functioning, how they take information in, how they appreciate instructions or directions to be made, the more open and inclusive we are, the more likely we can attract the workforce we need. And it's not just about attracting. We have a lot of really well-intentioned companies who talk about diverse hiring, and they go out and they think that if they hire a woman or a person of color or someone who is different from them, that they've checked the box. And what we found is that the retention of those workers is actually much harder than the hiring. And so being able to have processes and systems in place and a culture of being able to, in financial terms, it's protecting your investment that you've made in that hire, but it's really about setting up good systems to, again, support your team so that they can show up as their authentic selves and do good work for you. right? I mean, a lot of construction business owners and architecture firms, some of their top complaints are that, you know, their team members are not getting along, or there's conflict in communication, or people have issues around addiction or mental health. And these are themes that are unavoidable. And again, to bring up the next generation that's coming, I believe we don't have a choice but to address them and work on them. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up and allowing people to know the services that you provide, because sometimes it's a little confusing to know that there are all these amazing assets and education and assistance and growing your business in so many different areas. Thank you, Mel, for being here with HELM Construction Solutions. I'm Audrey Grabesic, and that's the dirt. Have a great day.